What if I told you that some of the most famous tourist attractions, the ones that you want to go to, the ones you've been dying to see, are actually some of the worst places to go? These places are some of the scammiest places that you can go, with overpriced food, fake culture, crowds so thick that you can't even breathe. Then imagine just one street over. There's a cafe ran by just some grandma who's been cooking the same food for 50 years. And for some reason, none of the tourists know about it. Well, today, that's what I'm going to show you. We're going to talk about some of the ways that you can avoid getting scammed by some of these tourist attractions, and instead find some of the local hidden gems that you didn't know about. Some of the places that travel influencers don't post about or talk about because they're busy hitting all the hot spots that they think will get them the views. And well, if you've ever felt like your vacation was a little too, commercial, you're not alone. I felt that way too, by the way. So let's fix it. A lot of people like to go travel and see all of these nice places that they see their favorite travel influencers go to. And they don't realize that some of these places are just nothing more than a tourist trap. That's it. Just a tourist trap. And what is a tourist trap? Well, a tourist trap is a place in these countries that have overpriced food. They have overpriced, overpriced souvenirs. They're overhyped by everyone. And then they end up being pretty damn underwhelming. People claim that these are some of the nicest places to go, and you see all these travel influencers go there and talk a big game and whatnot. But then when you go, you realize that it's not as amazing as everyone acts. They put on these Instagram filters and whatnot to make it look nice, but it's not as nice as some of the local places, some of the other areas that the locals go to. I remember once I was in Boracay. I think it was in Station 1. And I went to this beautiful restaurant right by the beach. They had hookahs, that's why I went. And so I wanted to try the seafood because I'm a seafood man. I love my seafood. It may not look like it, but I do love my seafood. And we got a seafood platter and a bunch of other stuff. And the food came out, it was so expensive. It was like $5K, which is almost $100 for everything that we spent. Which for my friends who are not from the Philippines, that is very expensive. The only thing good about the place was the hookah. And that's only because there was only one other place that I went to. I probably could have found another one. But the food, it wasn't the best food. The hotel food, actually, their restaurant was actually better than the food at the restaurant we went to that night. We paid that much money for all that, only to get food that was okay. But there was also a lot of tourists there. You didn't see a lot of Filipinos there. The only Filipinos were the workers that I can't even remember. And my fiance, her family, the ones that went with us. That was it. I was not happy about that. That was a terrible time. I learned that day that not every famous spot is a good spot to go. Just because you've seen people go there does not mean that it's great. It's just engineered. It's just made for wallets. It's not made for wonders. And that restaurant was proof of that. And that basically the area in Boracay that I was proof of that. There are much better areas in Boracay. I've talked to many people, locals, that have told me I was in the wrong spot. I was in a place where there were way too many tourists and I should have went somewhere else. So how can you tell if a place is a tourist trap? Well, one of the things I've noticed is that if you go to a place, like especially a restaurant, that has a big ass menu with all these different languages on it, then it's probably a tourist trap. It would not have those languages on it if it wasn't. Because they're trying to get in as many people as they can, to make it as comfortable as they can for those people to eat, to be able to read and pick out whatever food they want. You'll also see that, how can I put this? there are more selfie sticks than there are locals. Basically, you'll see people taking pictures, taking photos of everything that they're doing because they want to post it on Instagram or they want to post it on YouTube or Facebook or whatever. You'll see that a lot. And if you see that more than you see the locals, then you know it's probably a tourist trap, because a tourist trap is made for tourists. And locals don't typically go to those kinds of places. And then also, if it says authentic shop, but then you go right down the street to the next shop and it also says authentic and they're selling the same kinds of souvenirs for about the same prices, yeah, it's probably a tourist trap. Those souvenirs are probably overhyped, overpriced. You're probably not going to want to get them. It's just not worth it because it's made for tourists who they think will have a lot of money. And then of course, the biggest way, the way that I tell most of the time is look for locals. If the place doesn't have a lot of locals, if the locals are avoiding it like the plague, it's a tourist trap. You want to go to a place that has more locals than tourists. That's how you get the authentic feel. That's how you get the authentic experience of whatever country you're going to. Here's a quick, fun little tip. Go to Google Maps, wherever you're at, zoom out, look for any ports, any bus stations, any areas that might say something like "we speak English," something like that. If you see anything like that, then the places around those areas are probably going to be tourist traps. This is especially true for airports. Airports are some of the worst places. If there's hotels or restaurants around airports, it's usually a tourist trap. They know you've been on the plane for a while, you're getting off the plane, you're hungry, you want some food, they're going to jack up those prices because you're a tourist and they think you have money. So that's a little pro tip for you guys. And then this leads me to my next point, and that is mindset shift. Let's say that you've decided that you want to go to France. What's the one place you want to see? It's probably going to be the Eiffel Tower. Now, you're in a rush and you haven't got to see the Eiffel Tower yet. So what are you going to try to do? You're going to try to rush and your mind is going to be like, what if I miss the Eiffel Tower? I don't want to miss this. And you're going to try to make it there so you can see it. I would argue that it's better to think of it like this. What if I find the best wine I've ever had down one of these random streets where the locals live? A lot of people, they decide they want to go to some of the hot spots, some of these tourist traps. They end up regretting it because they spend so much money. And for what? They saw a tower. Okay, that's nice. But it's not so much about this consumption idea, this idea of consumption, trying to get the next big hit on this attraction or whatever, trying to look good for social media, blah, 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 all of that. Sometimes it's about connection. And you could probably go down one of those streets to a mom and pop shop in France and find some of the best wine you've ever had. And it's all because you decided to go somewhere that tourists don't go. Instead, you're going somewhere where the locals go. So that's something to think about when you are deciding to travel. Now, another thing, when you're doing your research, don't go to the popular websites like TripAdvisor or Yelp, those kinds of places. I would suggest to look at the local Facebook events. You could probably find all kinds of stuff on there. Look and see what the locals are doing and not what all the experts are saying on TripAdvisor or wherever your Yelp or wherever the heck else they have, or on any of the Expedia places or any of that. Instead, I would suggest, going to places on Facebook or X or Reddit and looking for events that are going on and try to go to some of those. See what the locals are saying is going on. See what the locals say is the best. See what locals are rating restaurants and go to places like that, because that will give you a much more authentic experience and it'll be more eye-opening for you. You will learn more through that. If you're using things like Instagram to check things out or any social media that uses hashtags, where hashtags are popular, I would suggest possibly looking at the hashtags that the locals use, not the influencers. I know I travel. I know I have an Instagram where I post stuff, But I really don't. I follow some influencers, I follow some travel vlogs, but not a lot, because I know that most of them just go to these tourist traps. They go to these hot spots, where places where everybody's already seen. I'm not as into that. I kind of like going to places that are off the beaten path, and you'll learn more. You'll be able to experience more by doing that. So I highly recommend, if you are using social media that has hashtags, make sure the hashtags are ones that are being used by locals, because you'll want a more local experience, which could possibly be cheaper, and it'll be a lot more fun, I think. Now, when you get to your destination, I think some of the best things you could do is possibly talk to the waiters. You could talk to people who have stores. You can talk to bartenders, whatever. Just talk to people. Find out what people are doing. Find out what people like. Find out how people think there. This could help you learn more about the culture. It could give you ideas of places to go that tourists don't typically go, and you could have a much better time, probably a cheaper time, and get a better experience from it. Talking to real people also gives you a connection, and connections are really important. It's those connections, those times you spend with other people. Those are the times you're going to remember. I've traveled to a lot of places. Most of the places I've traveled to, what I remember most are the times I had with other people. It's not really the times by myself that I remember as much, to be completely honest, because I don't. I barely remember the time I was in China. I barely remember the time I was in Japan. I barely remember the time I was in Italy. All those times I was alone. I didn't have anybody. And I still remember bits and pieces. I still remember, some of it, but not a lot. But the other places I've been, where I have been with people, I remember that a lot more. Or where I go out and I talk to the locals more often, I remember some of the things the locals will tell me. And that's important. Those connections, that's what's going to be burned into your memory. So don't forget that. Here's a good question to ask, actually. Ask them something like, what do you do on your day off? What's something fun that you do? Or where's your favorite place to eat? Ask them questions like that. Don't ask stuff like, oh, where do all the tourists go? One, they're probably not even going to care, because, tourists, a lot of locals, they don't go around tourist stuff. And two, that's not what you want to do. And actually in Germany, my friends that I was with, when we was in Germany, we asked, it was a taxi driver, about some of the best clubs. And boy, did he take us to some good clubs. Or to a good club. We were there all night. We had fun all night at that club. And it's all because we asked him. We would have never went to that club. That club was kind of almost like it was in a hole that you would never see if you didn't know it was there. So yeah, that kind of stuff, it's fun, it's interesting, and you get to learn something. Another important thing, I think, is to actually have a purpose for why you're wandering around. Look around with purpose, that you want new experiences. You want to meet new people. You want to have fun. It's okay to get a little lost. It's okay. I know it's stressful. I know you can get nervous. Just make sure you're in the right kind of neighborhood. And it's okay to get lost. Just a little bit, though. In the right places. It's happened to me many, many times. And I get anxiety still from it, but I still don't mind it. You can use offline maps, obviously, if you do get lost. But you could also use your Google Maps, and also use these maps to locate places that local people might tell you to go. They might tell you it's on this road or it's called this, and then you just pin it onto the map. Your offline map or your Google Maps. I recommend using Google Maps, of course. I don't use local maps, offline maps. I'd also recommend that if you're around the main plaza, possibly try to walk at least 4 to 5 blocks away. Because if you're around the main plaza, you're going to have a lot of tourists. You're going to have a lot of people that are going to try to convince you to take a ride with them, this and that, whatever. And it's all because they think you have money because you're a tourist and you'll get charged more. I'd say walk at least 4 to 5 blocks away in situations like that. Now, I can say I do believe there are times that tourist spots are worth it. You just got to be a little careful. You got to be smart, I should say, not careful. Tourist traps are real, but some ideas that you could do is possibly going early or late, especially early. I know that happy hour, sometimes you can go early or go later and get a cheaper drink. But I would also try to do something like book online, because there's going to be a lot of people in some of those places and you're going to have to deal with lines. And I hate dealing with lines of people. I tell you what, it is so annoying for me, especially when I'm waiting in line to get to an ATM and there are just people who do not care. They don't care that there's a line of people behind them. They're going to stand behind that ATM, read everything on the screen, read everything on the receipt, use the machine 5 different times. It's so annoying. It's so people like that are so inconsiderate of other people. They're only thinking of themselves, and that's it. And that drives me nuts. But anyhow, possibly try to book online. You might get a better deal. Look around for some, if you're going to a tourist spot, look to see if there's any local spots nearby, so you can visit both. At least get the authentic experience in with the tourist experience. For me, I've done a lot of these things, but some of the best spots I found obviously are the ones that have not been very tourist, like in Germany. I told you about the club I went to. A very nice club. It was a beautiful club. Well, beautiful as in there was some nice ass heavy music that I really like, because I like heavy music. And there was people dancing and all this, and it was all because I asked about a good place to go clubbing to the taxi driver. And then here in the Philippines, where I'm at now, I mean, just the place I'm living in right now with my fiance, no tourist would come here. This is not a tourist area. This is a small province. I am probably one of like 3 white people that live here. Well, actually, in this city right here, I think I'm the only white person that lives here. There's a couple other white people in the area, like close by, like 15-20 minute drive away. But I don't think I'm the only one that lives here in this particular city. And I would have never came here if it wasn't for my fiance, who brought me here to let me see it. And to me, this is a gem, because the people are so nice, the food's authentic. There's not these big clubs and places to go. People are going to church every Sunday, that kind of stuff. It's a very authentic place to be. So I would highly recommend, doing something like that. If you can find a friend who's from the area that you're going, try to do something like that. You would also be able to spend time with them and have a more fun and authentic experience. But that's a little bit about what I think is going on with tourist traps and how you need to be careful. I have fallen for tourist traps, of course, but I've also gotten out of that, and now I do my own thing. But how about you guys? Have y'all found any hidden gems? Yeah, is there any place that you've been that tourists don't go to that you think is pretty cool, pretty amazing? If you do, just drop it in the comment section down below. Let's talk about it. Let's make a list of places that different people can go to check it out. And remember, guys, the world is too big, it's way too beautiful to waste on tourist traps. You deserve so much more than this cheap ass stuff that they sell. This cheap stuff that you can buy anywhere, from souvenir shops and all this overpriced alcohol and ice cream and all this other great stuff. You deserve so much more than that. You deserve memories with people, and you deserve real stories, fun times. Don't throw it away for tourist traps. Don't throw it away just to hang out with people who are just like you, who are tourists. If this video has helped you guys, please remember, give me a thumbs up and share it with a friend. And of course, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Obviously, you all liking and subscribing really helps me continue to make videos like this for you guys, and it helps the algorithm. It's the best way to support me and the work that I do. Every day, I try to share different traveling stories and different mental health tips and different things that are going on in my mind, and I try to connect it all to traveling in some way or another. With that, guys, know that you are valuable and that you matter. God bless. Peace.